Good evening once again and welcome to In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral. My name is Ross Brierley. It's a freezing Friday night, but hopefully it won't be too cold and we'll get a second day of Cheltenham action on Saturday. Those frost covers, no matter how long they took them to get down, hopefully they went down in time and we can get excited about more action from Prestbury Park and on Saturday afternoon. We'll be going through the card from start to finish and then waking up in the morning and refreshing Twitter, probably hoping to see that inspection has been given the nod. We'll also be having a look at one race from Doncaster as well, albeit all the horses in that race are in the Cheltenham race. So the frost is nipping at our toes, but we're here to warm you up as the next hour or so goes by, with hopefully a few winners if it all goes ahead. Live and interactive as ever on YouTube. Please do like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and get involved in the chat box. Good evening to everyone who's already watching at home. Like I said, we'll be seeing a cracking lineup for the December Gold Cup. Epatante will be defending her generational crown against a bunch of horses who none of them had even jumped a hurdle when she won her first champion hurdle. We might get a Triumph hurdle challenger as well from one of those two races at Cheltenham and Doncaster. No small potatoes in the Albert Bartlett trial, that's for sure, and a few other races as well to get stuck into. Who else is on the show? Well, as ever, we've got the Dream Team, and surprisingly, every single day he passes his morning inspection. It's the one and only Mr. Paul Kealy.
I only just did it today, mind you.
Yeah, just snuck in.
What, we could do some frost covers in here as well, couldn't we? It's freezing in this studio. You wouldn't believe how cold it is.
I believe it might be a cold coming on.
It's definitely coming on. So I'm even worse now. Yeah, I'd avoid me on the way home if you see me.
Well, if I'm honest, I normally do. But today you did all right, though?
Yeah, Dame de Soir, very good, beautiful ride from Lily Pinchin. Just getting her up on the line. First professional win for her. She's an excellent jockey, she is. And it's very nice. Big price a couple of days ago. Went off 8-1. Got the job done.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Keel's in form then. And sat at home. He might be frosty on top, but he's definitely good to soft underneath. It's Mr. Tom Segal. Good evening.
Yeah, very good to soft out on. Oh my God, can you see me?
That's an angle for you there, Tom.
Yeah,
is it
very good?
Are you
very underneath? Yeah, got my Christmas top on today.
Are you on the way out?
Yeah, I know. It's freezing in here.
I'm liking this new casual.
Put some heating on your tight gear. Not telling me you can't afford it.
Well, I didn't back Dame de Soir, otherwise I would.
Wow, this is the most intimate we've ever been with Tom Segal, I think, on the evening. But there we go. Simon Clare is at home as well, who's always in high spirits, even in low sun. Simon, how are you?
Yeah, no, it's nice and warm here. I've got the heating up full blast, guys. Don't you worry. Brazil have just been knocked out of the World Cup, so results are going the bookies' way. So yeah, I'm ramping it up.
Yeah, Croatia-Morocco final and a win for Croatia.
Yeah.
Win for Morocco, 0-0, and goes to penalties. I can feel it. In my bones.
That would be a very good outcome. That'd be a healthy outcome. But no, it's definitely very cold outside. Just crossing fingers we get. I think Cheltenham certainly on, and hopefully Doncaster on as well.
Yes, fingers crossed it all goes ahead. Hello to everyone watching at home. Racing Demon, Barry Arthurs, Nicholas Ram Roop, what a name, Charlie's Rush, Trevor Clark, Hugh Masson, plenty of people watching at home as we gear up. Fingers crossed, like I said, for a good day of racing on Saturday. Kicking off with the Triumph Hurdle Trial, one of two tomorrow. We might get two races, we might get three horses in one and seven in another. We might not get either of the races on at all, but either way, Nusret is 6-4 favourite currently for the 12:05 at Cheltenham tomorrow, with Scriptwriter at 3-1. Perseus Way is 100-30. 9-1 is Jackpot de Choiseul. Medjaf is 14s, Almahit 18s, and 25-1 bar those. Now, like I said, a bit of a disclaimer on the juvenile hurdles, as Nusret and Scriptwriter currently have Doncaster as their preferred option tomorrow. So we don't quite know how this is going to work out. So it might be worth just kind of talking about the horses in abstract, certainly those two.
Yeah, and for both races. I mean, there's no point in doing a separate preview for both, is there? Because we really do not know what's going to turn up. It is ludicrous race planning, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
2 Triumph Hurdle Trials on the same day. There were 11 entered at Cheltenham, and 6 of those will also entered at Doncaster. And of course, including the first 2 in the betting for this race, Nusret and Scriptwriter. Absolutely bonkers. I don't know what they think they're doing. Guaranteed small fields for that race every single year for both of them. Crazy.
It's almost as if they're assuming one of them's going to be off. It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Doncaster does have a bit of, not history with this, but it seems that every time there's a big Cheltenham meeting on, there's a big Doncaster meeting.
Yeah.
So it's a bit unfair to them almost, because they always get
we do seem to have meetings certainly pair with each other's, don't
Yeah.
they? Like, you know, I mean, you often find that Ascot is on when Haydock's on, for instance, like, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, someone's got to make a decision. Well, you know, let's have one Triumph Hurdle Trial. I mean, what's the point in having 2 on exactly the same day? They're always going to attract the same pool of horses, which is basically exactly what's happened. So, unless one of the meetings off, we're just going to get 2 rubbish races with small fields in.
And the strange thing is, despite you know, you'd assume that the Cheltenham one would normally be a bit more prestigious, but Doncaster's a listed race, £6 extra, and it's often the weaker contest.
Yeah, and it can be the weaker race as well. Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the horses in particular, because I was really impressed with Nusret. He quickened up really well, did good speed figure, form looks all right. Whether he
I mean, the third obviously ran well in the listed race afterwards, didn't it, Aintree? The runner-up had been running awfully on the flat. Up to that, you know, stones below form. Up to that, so you know, maybe he has just improved and enjoyed himself jumping. But you know, I don't think stand out 6-4 for your money performance. To be honest, even if he is getting a bit away from Scriptwriter, who'd be a stone better on the flat, and you know, hasn't done much wrong. Might not be the most fluent at times, but he's getting better. And you know, if those 2 go to Doncaster, I would favour Scriptwriter slightly, just at a bigger price, just because I just don't think he's done anything wrong. If Donny's off, they all come here. There's still others to be interested into. Perseus Way is another one who's clumsy as hell. You know, he can't jump, but he's obviously got a good engine. He was only a couple of lengths behind Scriptwriter last time. The time before last, and then won very easily at Leicester. And
he was much better at Leicester.
He was better at Leicester. Yeah, he was better. And then John McConnell, he's got this Jacques Potter Soisel, who's just won 1 flat race in France, but they paid $200,000 for him afterwards. A lot of money for a 3-year-old hurdler. So,
and the horse he battered in third, won first time out of hurdles the other day as well. So
yeah. So you know, he could be interesting. So you know, I'd be tempted to give him a shot if the other 2 go to Donny.
Okay, tricky stuff here, Tom. But it's hard to really get a selection for you for this or the Doncaster race. But is there anything that's entered in this 12:05 at Cheltenham that's impressed you so far, or that you're interested in?
I'm a massive fan of Perseus Way, Ross. Thought he was really impressive when he won on the flat at Newbury, trained by Owen Burrows, wasn't he? And after the race, they all said what he needs is soft ground. He'll stay as far as you want. I think one day he's going to get his conditions and he's going to take off. I'm not sure tomorrow's his conditions, really. I think he'd prefer much softer ground. What he'd like is the low sun, wouldn't he? Because like in that punctuation race today, they might get rid of all the hurdles and make it just a flat race, and therefore the best flat horse would win, and therefore that brings in Scriptwriter and Perseus Way. I think they were at least as good as Nusret on the flat. Perseus Way isn't rated as high as Nusret, but I think he was getting better as the time went on. He's an interesting horse for soft ground later in the season. I also think one day he'll stay further than 2 miles as well. So I have definitely got him in my tracker. As for the race tomorrow, as Kealy said, it's impossible to have any selection at this stage because who knows where any of them are going to run. I think 6 of them are entered up in Doncaster, aren't they? And whichever one's off, and I expect one of them to be off, it could be a good race at Cheltenham if they all turn up. But as it stands, I'm interested in Perseus Way, but how can you have a bet?
Yeah. Simon, Nusret currently for the Triumph Hurdle in March, potentially. It might be an angle if he does turn up tomorrow. But yeah, it's tricky to get stuck into this.
Yeah, it is. I suppose, like, as you say, I think we can talk about it. People will be watching this back tomorrow morning, probably with more knowledge as to whether which race is going ahead. I think if Doncaster's off and they all run here, then this is a really good 2.5 hurdle, isn't it? You've got Nusret, who's 16-1 for the Triumph, Scriptwriter's 20-1 for the Triumph Hurdle, Perseus Way 33, Medjaf 50, and if they aren't quoted, you can ask for a price. You get quoted any of these horses. They're all anything that wins this. Particularly if they all come here, at Cheltenham, would suddenly be a good bit shorter for the race come March. So obviously there's plenty of decent juveniles to come out. It's quite interesting. The Summit Hurdle, of course, used to be a Lingfield race, didn't it? Later in the month. I can remember Francois Dumas used to sort of send horses over there to win on the soft ground, and they moved it obviously out from Lingfield, partly because I think it was that meeting around the 20th of December, which was always off. Mm-hmm. So they moved it to Doncaster for the better ground and earlier in the month, and hence we've now got this rather mad double whammy today. So, but as a member of the quality review jump group or whatever it was called.
Is that the official name?
Yeah, well, whatever it was. This was the sort of problem. They were looking to sort of streamline some of the pattern races through the jump season to make it all a little bit more logical. But unfortunately, at the moment, trying to get it implemented seems to be the challenge. But anyway, let's not get into racing politics. I just thought, listen, scriptwriter, was the best of these on the flat, certainly on ratings from Ireland, fifth to Caribus in the Autumn Stakes, got sort of links to classic form. And Milton Harris does brilliantly with his juveniles. I watched the race back. I thought he was the best horse, much the best horse in the way, when he won at Cheltenham. I know Perseus Way gave him a race. And I think he'd be the one I'd be most interested wherever he runs, whether it's here or Doncaster. I think he's, a nice, big, strong type. And there's even a Coral Ambassador connection from the flat with Almy Hit, because, of course, this used to be a Sheikh Hamdan horse or a Shadwell horse ridden by Jim Crowley on many occasions, and he was a nice, big, strong, slightly one-paced horse of John Gosden. So I thought might be interesting over hurdles now trained by Dennis Hogan, but first time out, probably a bit ambitious to expect him to win, but I thought he might outrun his price.
Okay, there you go. Plenty of interesting juveniles there. Most of them entered here at Cheltenham or at Doncaster tomorrow. So let's move on then from the 12:05 at Cheltenham, where we do, like I said, potentially have an interesting race or no race at all. And we're going to skip on to the handicap chase at 1:15 over the 2 mile trip. And I mean, some of the biggest names in 2 mile handicap chasing have won this over the years. This is usually an absolute peach of a contest, and we've got some old favourites lining up once again this year as well. Editor de Geet is trying to win it for the second year on the bounce. Loves it round the track. Has been given a prep for this contest that, unsurprisingly, is 5-2 favourite. He is against some talented and well-handicapped rivals, though. Dolos is now 4-1. Gumball is 9-2. Time White 5-1. Third Time Lucky at 7-1 with the Widowmaker 10-1 Prince Escalus and Uzun Them at 40-1. Bearing in mind the last 2 times he's been here at Cheltenham, he's been sent off shorter price, I think, for the Grand Annual. So this is an intriguing little race, but lots of, quirks has been kind, isn't it, for plenty of these, Tom? Editor Geets wins his fair share. He's still not necessarily the most straightforward, but yeah, there's been some good old horses who won this in the past, your likes of your Geno Trails and your Sky Pirates, and obviously we could have another cracking contest tomorrow. But Editor Geet looks solid enough. Yeah,
definitely does. I mean, loves Cheltenham, isn't he? The key I thought about this race, lots of pace, I thought. Editor de Geet, the Widowmaker, Gumball won't mess her, won't sit back. So I thought it'd be a really strong race. I think sometimes we get it wrong and think that because there's loads of front runners, you want something held up. I don't think that works in jump racing. I think what happens in jump racing is that the faster you go on this sort of ground, the harder it is to come from off the back because they start jumping badly. So I do like Editor de Geet. I slightly less interested in Time White, who I thought ran much below form last time. Third Time Lucky looks to have gone a bit. He didn't have had a wind up, I think, since last time. The Widowmaker was pretty easily thrashed last time at Newbury. I know it was over a bit further. The bottom two, I think, are going to struggle. So I ended up on our old Sandown favourite, Dolos. I'm not convinced he's a one-track pony. I think he's got plenty of form at other tracks. He ran well at Exeter the other day. He's run well at Ayr. He's run well at Cheltenham in the past. And he ran well at, Cheltenham in the past when he was fourth to Rouge Vif in one of those good early season handicap chases 1 year off a big weight. I just thought that the race might set up for him. I'm a big Harry Cobden fan. I thought Editor de Geet would go out front and maybe Dolos might pick him up. I think he's much more versatile than people give him credit for. So he'd be my selection, but I thought it was a really good, interesting and tough handicap.
Okay, Dolos is 4-1. He has been well supported, as Tom has put him up. But yeah, he was obviously a bit missed in the market because people have him down as a Sandown horse. You've got a new Cliff horse.
Well,
in the,
I was
in the
going to
race,
say, my
Keels.
Cliff horses have started winning.
Yeah,
So, I had Sansa at Newbury the other day. I
Wow,
managed to
yeah,
get Hurricane
true.
Harvey to win a race on Tuesday.
'tis the season.
So why not? I'm going to row in with Gamble. I'm just absolutely convinced he's absolutely lobbed in on his old form. Well, he is lobbed in on his old form. There's no argument about that at all. It's whether he produces it or not. He was gonna toy with Eldorado Allen and novice, Grade 2 novice here a couple of seasons ago before falling 2 out. Hasn't won since, except on the flat, and he ran a blinder on the flat at Ascot in September, which tells me he's still got all the old ability. You know what I mean? He's still, he's actually slightly higher in the weights on the flat now than he was when he was rated 151 over fences. So he's 135 over fences now. I'm pretty sure he's got the same amount of ability. It all depends on what's in his head and what's in his legs, because his jumping can be terrible. But last time at Ascot, he was punted off the boards. I know me and Tom tipped him, but that wasn't the only reason, because the money just didn't stop coming for it. I thought he was cruising turning in, but he moved up really well around the outside. I thought, here we go, and then he cut out like a light. And no surprise, 5 days later he went for a wind up. It doesn't mean it's going to have worked, but if it does, he's seriously well handicapped. Dropped £2 for the Ascot run. Liam Harrison taking off another 3. It's one of those, I'm looking at it like, a bit like Hurricane Harvey on Tuesday. He's going to fall over the line in front in one of these races sooner or later. And hopefully it'll be tomorrow.
Okay, excuse me. Gumball is 92 then, and has a little bit of a squeak. Hopefully that wind up will help him find more under pressure. So if he does get headed, you can hope that Gumball will rally. As for the others, quick word on third time lucky, Tom, because again, 12 months ago he was favoured at Sandown and battered by Edwardstone, and how their careers have diverged. Now he's had a wind up as well, and he's also 2 from 2 over fences at Cheltenham. But have we given up on him?
For the time being, I have, yeah, because he just cuts out so quickly. Both times this season, Dan Skelton was interviewed on the telly today. They said they've lost their way with him. One day he'll bounce back, and it could be tomorrow, he said, because he's had a wind up, but he wouldn't be counting on it. I don't know. I'd like to see him finish a race first. He's always been a bit of a weak finisher anyway, but I'd like to see him finish a race first before I get stuck in. But I get it. You're getting a bigger price now than you normally do about him, and one day he's got so much ability, he will bounce back. You're right.
Simon, what did you make of this group of talented, yet on the most part fairly frustrating 2-mile chasers?
Yeah, I think it's a good betting race, as you say. Horses that punters know well, they'll have their favourites. It is one of those races. It's almost worth being partisan with the horse you like best, because they're all in many ways capable. You can find a reason to make a case for them. Third time lucky, yeah. The Dan Skelton Ladbrokes blog, he pretty much says, as Tom said, that they're just going to keep running him, hoping he'll sort of rally back round to form, really. But they haven't got any reason why he's out of form. So I think he's one to leave alone. John Joe Neal's won this 3 times in the last 9 years. He's got Prince Aeschylus, but not easy to make a case for him. And I don't know if Hereford's going to be on, but whether it'll come here. But no, I thought Dolos. The editor de Gite's very solid, but obviously £6 higher than last year. And Dolos, really good run at Exeter, has got bits of form at Cheltenham, albeit when he's run at Cheltenham, they've been very competitive races of higher ratings. So he looks reasonably well handicapped still. On his best form, and Paul Nicholson is just such good form. 14 winners from his last 38 runners. If in doubt, back Nicholson, Cobden.
There you go. Dolos is a 4-1 shot here, but I'm going to stick with Editor de Gite. I thought that outrun last time out would perfectly set him up for this, and quite a few of these. Not entirely sure whether they're going to properly go through with it at Cheltenham on the home straight, but we definitely know he will. Nyada in form as well. But you're going with Keels?
Yeah, Cliff Horse Gamble. It's his day.
It is his day, says Paul Kealy. Tom?
Tricky, but Dolos for me.
There you go. Dolos it is. And the dogs are coughing in the studio for Gumball. Simon Clare, you're with Simon Clare, though. You're with Simon Clare. You're with Tom Segal.
Yeah, I'm with Tom Segal and worried about Paul Kealy.
Yeah.
But no, yes, I'm going with Dolos. I should actually point out we have got an in the know special on this race. And it's Paul Nicholls to win the race. It was 9-4. It's now 11-4. And actually, Dolos at 4-1, Time White 5-1. I think it works out, round about sort of a 2-1 chance, actually. But anyway, so yeah, not a bad double price. And also, we should throw out the other In the Know special because it's a set of 6 till 7, so we're 26 minutes into it. It's Epatante at 7 to 4 rather than 5 to 4. Max bet £20 per customer, so still 35 minutes more of that Epatante special. Okay. I forgot to mention it earlier.
No, it's fine. You've whetted people's appetites for the racing tomorrow, and a couple of 2 price boosts for the price of 1 there for the 115 at Cheltenham. Okay, so while Paul goes for a wind up, let's move on to the 150, the feature betting race of the day. That's for sure. The December Gold Cup, and as ever, it is a pretty good lineup all round, and plenty of form from the meeting here at Cheltenham a few weeks ago. Il Ridotto, an eye-catching fourth in the big race there, which has thrown up quite a few winners over the past 15 years or so. In fact, 88 horses have come from that race, and 10 of them have gone on to win. It's not too bad a strike rate given the SPs that tend to go in these races. So you've got Il Ridotto at 11-2. Stolen Silver at 6-1 was also in that race. Sent off favoured, unseated his rider. Fantastic Lady is 7-1. Frero Bamboo up in trip at 8-1. Coconut Splash 9s. Warlord 9s. Fugitive 10s. Soul Pretender 11s. Mentioning other ones at bigger prices. Cheddleton, Dare and Carjack. Don't you dare, lads. It's Simply the Bets is also in there as well. Fernhill was an improver. The old boy Storm Control, tongue tie and visor on for him. Jacamar and Corto Rico make up the field here then for the December Gold Cup. Il Ridotto then is an 11-2 shot here. You are very far from a favourites backer at Keels, but at 11-2 with 4 places on offer, I'll let you off talking this one up.
Yeah, I fancy this one. Yeah, he just got the perfect profile for a Paul Nicholls winner of this race. He's won it 5 times since 2009. Mm-hmm. All of them ran at the Paddy Power meeting. 4 of them in the Paddy Power Gold Cup. 2 of them finished second, 1 of them the 5th. And he just ran and jumped and travelled through the Paddy Power. So really, really well. Traded short with him and everything bar the front 2. Just got tired, belted the last. But I know people are a little bit worried about his stamina. But given what he did at the last, I didn't think he fell away at all. And I think he stayed the tip very well. And I just think he's certain to improve. He's a 5-year-old. He's the youngest horse in the race by 2 years. We know what Paul Nicholls is like with these horses. When he starts them chasing at 4, they go on and improve and improve and improve. Wouldn't be a big surprise if a couple of years' time he's at least a stone higher than he is. He's only off a mark of 139. I think he's got a great chance. He'll come on for the run. All being well, he's going to go very close. I have backed one other, Soul Pretender. I just thought he was a big price. Basically, never given an easy ride in the races he runs in. Running some decent graded races, and his time was 3rd to Banbridge last time. And he's never once over fences run over 2.5 miles, which, when you consider his days as a novice hurdler, he ran 3 times over 2.5 miles as a novice. He won 2 of them, earned the comment, stayed on strongly, kept on strongly, etc. The only horse who beat him over that trip was Imperial Aura. He actually ran 5th in the Champion Stayers hurdle at Punchestown over 3 miles, but has never been tried over further than 2-mile 1 over fences. I think he'll stay it really well. He's dropped £5 this season. He's got a £5 claim on. I do not know much about Michael O'Sullivan. I'll have to be honest about that. But I just think he's perfectly reasonably well handicapped and very capable of going close. Okay,
Soul Pretender is an 11-1 shot, but Il Ridotto is favourite at 11-2. Of course, Nicholls has won this with some decent horses, and most notably Frodon twice in recent years. Other interesting horses in here. You're talking about Trip as well. Fairly remarkable, I thought. Frero Bamboo stepping up in Trip as well. He's only the 4th horse in the past 20 years to have tried this race without having run over at least 2.5 miles. You'd think you'd have a lot more horses who go, okay, we're getting outpaced over 2, we'll step up, but it's actually quite a rarity. So interesting to see that Frero Bamboo is a single figure price for Venetia Williams, a horse who often runs on in heavy ground, and I guess that kind of makes sense stepping up in Trip. But it can be quite hard, especially in these races where a lot of battle-hardened individuals here, Tom, to try something new and come out on top in such a competitive race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought it was a really great race, actually. I really hope this one's on, because I think you can make cases out for nearly everything, bar probably Storm Control, probably going to struggle. But I thought even your friend Dayran de Carjack could run well.
Well, it depends how many fences they doll off, doesn't it, Tom?
Yeah, well, he jumped really well the other day. What was he? Fifth? What was he? Caught 3/4 of a length behind Il Ridotto in the race the other day. You know, he ran a really good race. He was only beaten about 3 lengths. I wouldn't rule him out running well. One I like's Fantastic Lady, though. She's a really good jumper. She is. I love the way she jumps. I think she's got plenty of improvement in her. When she was last year as a novice, she was third at Kempton in the Pendle. That wouldn't have been her track. But the two that beat her, Pickdory and Miller's Bank, fought out the finish of the Peterborough last week, didn't they? That's really good form. She beat Vanilla Drama that day, who's a pretty good chaser himself. I think she's well handicapped. I think she's going to get better as the season goes on. Never run at Cheltenham. Never run in a race this competitive, probably, but she beat that good horse Zambella last time pretty easily at Market Race, and that was over 3 miles. I think this trip here will suit her perfectly. She gets in a rhythm. I think she'll go well. But you can make cases for loads in there. Warlord stepping up in trip, having finished 4th to Edwardstone, and Gabby Nacco and Blue Lord. That's not looking so bad now, the Arkle form, is it? Everyone told me it was the worst Arkle that they've ever seen.
Yeah, all right.
What do you mean by everyone, Tom? Let's be more specific. Let's be more specific now.
There was no names mentioned. Move on. Stolen Silver, I didn't think he was totally done with. He didn't jump so well in the Paddy Power, but he still, I would have still managed him to stay on up the hill there. Ferrero Bamboo, as you say. Also, I give Coconut Splash a bit of a chance. I know he hasn't actually won a chase, but I'm a sucker for Evan Williams in these handicap chases. Cool Cody and Ansam and Cool Cody won this last year, didn't he? I just think he's got a race in him somewhere, Coconut Splash. And I'm hoping that tomorrow, a strongly run. I think he'd probably stay 3 miles in time. I think a strongly run race on good ground is what he needs. He's got some good back form. He's bumped into some Grade 1 winners, Chantry House and stuff in his youth. Off his low handicap mark, I'd give him a chance too. And Fugitive ran very well over 2 miles. Like going up. You literally can make a case for anything. I think it's a really good race. Fantastic Lady is my main fancy though.
Okay, yeah, Fantastic Lady is having a one shot. Yeah, you can. I mean, you can make a case a lot of them. I was having half an eye on Fern Hill as well for Ben Case, who barely puts a foot wrong, and I thought again was really impressive at Uttoxeter the last time out. Jumped well, stayed on really strongly, and is unexposed at this trip. But yeah, Coconut Splash. I've got a bit of a Fusel Raffles feel in this race last year. You get his ability, but there's quirks all over the shop, and
Yeah,
I can see
plenty of them.
hitting the frame, but I'm not sure I'd want to be on Coconut Splash in a battle.
About Captain Morgs this afternoon, Ross.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
I just think we pigeonhole horses, and that when things go right for them, they I think
That is true. And Coconut Splash is. I
say
mean,
horses are this, we say horses are that, and then things just change. And
yeah. No, you're right. And if you look at Coconut Splash, I mean, has Coconut Splash ever run in a double-figure field over fences? So maybe the horse looks awkward because he just wants to pace the chase, and he's just getting frustrated with everyone messing around with 4 runner races around Wetherby. But either way, December Gold Cup, it's an absolute cracker. Let's see what you are saying at home. Charlie's Rush fancies Warlord, Ben K88 Fugitive. It's Dayran maybe usually goes for one with a lightweight, says Music Mike. Hugh Masson says pleased to see Ferrero Bamboo up in trip. Off wheels got Fern Hill. So you were saying you could fancy everything, and that's pretty much covered it. Simon, this is an absolute cracker by the looks of things.
Yeah, an amazing race, really. And it hasn't been a favourite winning in the last 10 years. I think no surprise. It's always fiercely competitive. Il Ridotto's just been eased out to 11-2, I see, just in the last sort of 20 minutes or so from 5-1, but still hanging on to favouritism from Stolen Silver, who obviously unseated last time out. And Fantastic Lady has been cut, so has Coconut Splash and Cheddleton. I thought Cheddleton, we haven't really mentioned him. He was second last year to Editor de Geet in the race we've just analysed before, and obviously stepping up in trip for today. And he's never been out of the first 4 in 15 starts. He has been running, been very cleverly campaigned, but a hugely consistent horse. So you can see him running well. We have got an In the Know special. This is again a Paul Nicholls combined to win with either Simply the Bet or Il Ridotto. You can get 4-1 from 100-30. The two of them lumped in together. Obviously, David Maxwell had a big winner last Saturday, but yeah, very competitive. Warlords ran like a horse who'd really appreciate the step up and trip last time at Exeter. I think the Tizard team are very confident he'll run a big race. They are going to have I think Joe was talking about just checking out the ground. I haven't spoken to him this evening, but assuming he runs, I think he'll give Brendan Powell a good spin tomorrow.
So yeah, it's whetting my appetite. Whetting my appetite, it really is. I thought surely Simon's got one more sentence in it.
No, I'd monologued enough.
I could get a sip of water before I start joining Keels in the hospital tent. But the December Gold Cup then, Keels, you back too?
Yeah, back to Ilwood, also the main one, but I've had a few Quidditch race Soul Pretender as well.
Okay, Tom Segal?
A Fantastic Lady for me.
Fantastic Lady it is. And Simon?
I think Warlord for me. I'd love to see Fantastic Lady run well. That form sort of ties in with Annie Mac via Zambella, because I backed Zambella against Fantastic Lady. She was brilliant beating Zambella, and then Zambella came out and won at Carlisle the other week. So good to see the mares, those listed class mares, stepping into handicap company and seeing how they get on with a bit of weight. So I'd like her to run well, but I'm going to go for Warlord.
Okay, we've got some listed class mares in that race, but we've got a Grade 1 class mare in the international, of course. Epatante 5-4, but up against a whole host of young pretenders. I like to move it 3-1. Nappers Hill 7-2. First Street is 5-1. Zafani and 125-1 outsider of the bunch, but did run. Did it run today, or was it pulled out?
Did run today, finished fifth.
Yeah.
Can plod its way around for 3,800 grand for finishing fifth, though. So it's 3,500 for finishing fifth. So don't automatically assume he'll come out.
So literally just walk around for the.
Yes,
circuit.
plod around in his own time.
Epatante then 5-4 here. Now, so far this season, Tom, it has been a transitional year. You've had plenty of horses coming up and putting it to the older horses. Protector out, obviously, Edwardstone. Honeysuckle beaten the other day as well. And Epatante itself, of course, is beaten by a younger rival in the shape of Constitution Hill. And yeah, it's fairly remarkable. Like when she won the Champion Hurdle back in 2020, none of these had actually jumped a hurdle in public, and now they're snapping at her heels in terms of quality. And they all come into it in good form. They've all got improvement to come. This looks wide open. It's going to be tough for Epatante to retain her crown as the best horse in this race. That's for sure.
She gets the weight is a big help for her, isn't it? She's getting £7 off Nappers Hill and 5 or 6 off the other ones, off I Like to Move It and First Street, which is a bit unfair, really, isn't it? Considering they just, given what she's done. But I think I don't know. I thought she ran okay, only okay. I don't really know what to make of her at Newcastle, because you take the winner out and you just don't know what to make of it. I have no idea. I think she's the right favourite. Clearly, she's a former champion hurdle winner. She third in it last year. She then won at Aintree. I mean, she's top quality, isn't she? I think. Listen, I thought she would probably just about win, but she wouldn't be a horse that I would want to back at 5-4. I thought the other 3 behind her were all very, very tight. I know Keels likes First Street, and I get it, because he's the biggest price of the lot for one, and he's got that amazing piece of course form behind State Man in the County Hurdle, which looks all the better now. Just slightly worried. He must have had a really hard race the other day, or he looked to have a really hard race off a big weight. I just slightly worried that's why I didn't go for him in the end. I just wondered whether he might have left that race behind. I thought Nappers Hill might be the one to sort of take advantage. I just think he's the one that's coming. I mean, I like to move his Greatwood. I'm just a little bit concerned about, no hurdles, funny starts, only 2 horses really in it from a long way out. It just didn't look like an all Greatwood hurdle for me, so slightly concerned about that. I was just really impressed with Nappers Hill at Wincanton. I just liked the way he was ridden. I liked the way he jumped. I liked the way he finished. He's not at the weights, he's got plenty to find. I just wondered whether he might be the one that is definitely going to put it all together tomorrow, and therefore I'd side with him. But I really think Epatante's going to be hard to beat him. If she brings her A game, getting all that weight, getting £7 off Nappers Hill, it's really hard. Not many geldings do it, do they? You've seen in the when she won the Champion Hurdle, was she third last year? Did any one?
Second last year.
Second last year, yeah. No gelding beater. Yeah. So it's hard to do, isn't it, giving the weight? So I think she'll probably win. Nappers Hill would be my danger.
Okay, Nappers Hill is a 7-2 shot, but yeah, she's 8 years old now, and she's not on the downgrade clearly, because if you look at the Newcastle race, she beat Not So Sleepy further than she did.
Yeah,
than she did last year. That's for sure.
She never has matched the form of her champion hurdle win in best part of 10 start stints. She's never quite got there. She hasn't busted an RPR of 159, I thought 160, and she ran 163 for that champion hurdle. So, but she's still solid and consistent. She doesn't set an outrageous standard though now, and if she runs as she ran last time, you'd have to think she's going to be vulnerable, unless, of course, Constitution Hill is even better than we think, and she's actually run right up to 4.
Yeah.
And if she slams these, then just how good is he? Because these are 3 up and coming horses, all coming here on career best last time out wins. Every one of them entitled to think they got a chance. The reason I went for First Street was like Tom said, he's got the biggest price of the pair. He won the Jerry Fielden last time. He was giving £25 and £17 to the second and third, who were both in form and race fit. He was having his first run of the season. Understand that, yes, he may have had a hard race, but I thought he actually won with a bit up his sleeve as well. So, and I think the long running absolutely suits him. If you get a bit of sun as well and we get to the last hurdle out of the way, that'll suit too. It might be a little bit too early, 2:25, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's forecast to be cloudy, so I don't think that will matter. Just have a look. But yeah, I just thought I don't see why there's such a big difference in price between the next 3 behind Epatante. I do believe she's entitled to be favoured, but I wouldn't back her.
Okay, Epatante is a 5-4 shot. First Street is a 5-1 shot. Of course, Nicky Henderson did win a Cheltenham race today. With a second string in the shape of Captain Morgs, with Do So Beaten. In fact, he ran horses in 3 races today, 2 at Cheltenham and 1 at Doncaster, and won them all. So the yard are in good form, but I like to move it. I like to move it. It's 3-1. There you go, Tom. I took that off you. I knew you would. You needed someone to say it. And Nappers Hill, of course, keeps on progressing at a rate of knots for Paul Nicholls, and if in doubt, Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden, as you said earlier, Simon. So we've got the. The reigning champ. Obviously, she didn't win this race, but Epatante, she's got the standard there to be shot at by the up-and-comers. And if I like to move it, Nappers Hill and First Street don't win tomorrow, they're certainly not going to be turning up in the champion hurdle. If they do, they might be holding out hopes of filling out a place behind Constitution Hill.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think it's a really good international hurdle. The fact that you've got Epatante there as almost the yardstick with so many bits of top-class form, and you've got these 3 up-and-comers who've all ran in the Betfair Trophy last February as sort of progressive horses, and have taken different routes since. I thought Nappers Hill, when he won at Wincanton, I think we quoted him a price for the Greatwood. He missed that and came straight here. I like to move it, went to the Greatwood, obviously, and won that. First Street won the old Jerry Field. It was a Coral sponsored race this year at Newbury. So all interesting horses. But I mean, to Epatante, Paul makes a fair point about everyone looks back at that Chapman Hurdle win and says she never quite repeated it. But actually, she's been incredibly consistent ever since. And all her RPRs are 150 plus, aren't they? I mean, she always kind of turns up and runs a race, even in defeat, which was beat by Silver Streak, was a bit disappointing in the Christmas Hurdle. Placed it in the champion behind Honeysuckle a couple of times. So, she sets the yardstick. We're going 7-4 till 7 for another 15 minutes from 5-4 for punters who think she's going to win. If she doesn't win, who's going to beat her? And I think I'd probably side with Tom's selection as well. Nappers Hill, I just think, again, the Nicholls Cobden bandwagon is still rolling. And I thought he was very impressive. And I think it's quite, he's probably going to be a chase. He's always been built up to be a chase and not a champion hurdler. I'd be very surprised if any of these win the champion hurdle, given you've got Constitution Hill and State Man and still Honeysuckle at the front 3 in the betting for the champion hurdle. But as a race on its own merits tomorrow, it's a cracker. And I think I'd probably take the value in Nappers Hill. But deep down, I'd quite like Epatante to win.
Yeah, Epatante then 5-4. I like to move it 3-1. Nappers Hill 7-2. I'm going to side with Paul Kealy in the shape of First Street. It might well be that Newbury race leaves a bit of a mark. And my only concern actually is a fiddly race with 5 runners, because this horse excels when he's got something to aim at. Yeah,
well, I like to move it went on, didn't he? Nappers Hill went on obviously to try and draw the sting out of So Well. So we have to see how they play it. Everyone seems to think Epatante's got this blinding turn of foot, so they might want to make it a test anyway. So
yeah, okay. So Keels, we're with First Street.
First Street, yep.
Hopefully first past the post. Tom Segal.
Tricky. I probably won't have a bet. I hope Epatante wins, like Simon said. I think Nappers Hill is going to run a big race too.
Okay, Simon.
Yeah, exactly the same as Tom. But don't you just have the urge to sing "I like to move it" every time you say it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even every time I say it. It's just
Well, I've avoided saying it.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. It's great stuff. Isn't that? Have you seen Madagascar the film? Isn't that the song that they is the sign-off song? It is, isn't it? Madagascar. Oh,
I don't know. I just remember. But it was the Out Here Brothers, right?
That music, mate.
Yeah, because here's a fact for you: the first ever gig I went to was to see Ozzy Osbourne. The second gig was the Out Here Brothers. There's a combo you've never you've never heard together, have you? So not too many horses named after Ozzy Osbourne songs, though. But let's move on to Cheltenham. 3 o'clock then. We've got another graded contest in the agenda, the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle, the Bristol Novices Hurdle. It's a trial for the Albert Bartlett, of course, at the festival. And We've All Been Caught is 5-4 favourite. Outlaw Peter is 2-1. Thomas Moore 4-1. Grand Soir is 6-1. Max's Champ 100s. And Accidental Legend at 125-1 is the outsider of the bunch. Very much a deliberate legend I'm going to go to for the preview here, Mr. Paul Kealy. And We've All Been Caught is the market leader for Nigel Twiston-Davies and Sam Twiston-Davies. His horses are in good form. Work in progress, I think, would be the words to describe him last time out, Keels.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He looks like a big, gangly, uncoordinated...
future chaser? What's what you going to say then?
Yeah, the clumsy oaf. I don't know. I mean, he just did everything wrong, didn't he? But he didn't half stay on after the last, didn't he? I mean, he's obviously got an engine. Whether he's up to this, again, that all depends on how he jumps and how he comes. How he comes on from that first run. Whether he wants a bit softer ground as well. My initial feeling was he's probably a good thing, and I looked more and I thought actually these are quite decent. These are the Outlaw Peter looked really good at Exeter in November. The trainer was talking about the Challow afterwards. Obviously he's going to have the Hermes horse that We've All Been Caught third to for that instead now. I actually come around looking at Grand Soir for John McConnell. We know how well he does at these meetings. There's plenty of good. He seems to pick up plenty of good ground horses and do well at Cheltenham pre-Christmas. And this one's won with a fair amount in hand, staying on really strongly. Both Kilbeggan and Cook. Yeah, they're not brilliant races, but I just thought at the price I might take a little chance with him.
Okay, Grand Soir is a 6-1 shot. Apart from obviously Max's Jump and Accidental Legend, Tom, everything in this field has run to a level that would give them a chance of improving to win this based on historical standards. So even though we've got a 5-4 shot here, you certainly can't rule out the rest. Outlaw Peter, like I said, a little bit concerned stamina-wise, but I certainly think he's got the class. Grand Soir, as Keel said, and Thomas Moore, who was in a bit of a match last time out, wasn't he, in a small field with one of Kieran Burke's, and then suddenly disappeared out of sight and bolted up, pretty much lapped his rivals. So interesting little race this.
It is a good little race, isn't it? Little bit surprised he's so short. We've All Been Caught. Like Keel said, he did a lot wrong on his debut. I think 3 miles he's gonna love it. But it's just whether his jumping holds together. He will be one that would want the sun, wouldn't he? Because he get those hurdles out of the way, he'll be staying on really well. But I don't think it's an easy task for him. Outlaw Peter was really impressive at Exeter, and Thomas Moore, as you say, looked like a really strong stay. I would be in Keels' boat, though. I thought at the prices, Grand Soir was quite interesting. John McConnell has had horses placed in the last 2 Albert Bartletts. He won this race 2 years ago with an outsider, Make Good. He's just very good. There was that horse that won up at Exeter last year on the sort of trial up there as well, Marlow or something. He's just very good at these staying novice hurdles in England. He knows what it takes to come and win them. Grand Soir has looked perfectly good on his 2 runs. He jumps very well. That's what I like about him. He's a really good slick jumper. Stays very well. I can't, there were only Exeter and Thomas Moore's. I can't remember where he won, but Wincanton. It wasn't like they were winning at Ascot, Sandown or Cheltenham, were they? They're only small little races themselves, so I wouldn't hold that against him. I think We've All Been Caught is the horse with the potential, but whether he'll put it together tomorrow, I hope he does, because I think he's potentially be a really good staying chaser one day. But for tomorrow, I thought Grand Soir around 6-7-1 was perfectly fair.
Okay, Grand Soir is a 6-1 shot here for the Bristol Novices Hurdle. Open race. I'm slightly edging towards Outlaw Peter, but it's just one of those races that I never really seem to get right. It is very tightly knit. I think he's a classy horse, but slightly concerned about him being outstayed by one of these grinders, Simon. So, like I said, the 3-mile Novice Hurdle division can be a pretty hard one to call. I'm not sure. Many people were on the nice guy at Cheltenham, and they can be tough because on paper you think they're going to unfold one way, and then suddenly something will improve for the trip. Did you have an angle in here?
Well, only that I think the race itself has thrown up 5 winning favourites in the last 10 years. So it does tend to go to 4. There's been quite a lot of money in the last half an hour. For We've All Been Caught. He's now 5-4, I think, from 11-8, from 6-4. So they're coming for him. I think Outlaw Peter is now 2-1 from 15-8. I'll just check that, and it's saying 58. Yes, 2-1. So there's definitely a move for We've All Been Caught. Tom Scudamore writes the blog, obviously, for Coral. He rides Thomas Moore. He says, look, he's a horse who's been really impressive to ride. To win, but actually every time he sits on him home, he feels like he's improving, and his point-to-point form all pointed to really him really appreciating better ground, the sort of ground he's going to get tomorrow. So I think Tom thinks he's going to run a big race, and he's the sort of horse who's really going to appreciate that trip as well. But it's a good race. I think there's plenty of reason to take on We've All Been Caught, bar the stats about favourites in the race. So I'd probably go for Thomas Moore. But a good trappy little novice hurdle.
Okay, Thomas Moore then is a 4-1 shot. Trappy indeed. Paul Kealy, what's the angle for you?
Yeah, I'd go just about Grand Soir. I think I wouldn't be surprised if that market move for We've All Been Caught is reversed near the off time.
Okay. Racing Dean at home agrees with you. Grand Soir for moi, he says. Tom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because he's the biggest price, really. I mean, I don't think there's that much between any of them on form. I think race post rating say Grand Soir's got a bit to find, but I think he jumps so well that he'd be my token selection.
Okay, there we go. And Simon?
Yeah, Thomas Moore for Tom Scudamore.
Okay, there we go. We'll go with the rhymes over the form, I think. A little bit more for this 3 o'clock at Cheltenham. The last race on Cheltenham's card tomorrow is a Mares Handicap Hurdle with another well-backed Nicky Henderson horse in the agenda here. 10 of them lining up for the 3:35 at Cheltenham, and Theatre Glory is 5-2. Could well have had that form, albeit she unseated fairly early on, franked with First Street potentially in the International. Lady Adair is coming off the back of a break, but just keeps on winning. Nina the Terrier is 4-1 for Alan King. Could be interesting over this trip. Martello Sky, an old favourite there, never runs a bad race, 9-2. I Spy a Diva, 9-1. Indefatigable is 16s. Peltwell 22s with Brands and Missouri and bigger prices the rest. Theatre Glory here, Tom, is a 5-2 shot for the Henderson team, and again, we're trying to weigh up the novice form of some of these mares who've been bolting up in slightly lower class events versus the likes of your Martello Sky and Nina the Terrier, who very rarely run bad races in this event. Do you think one of the front two have got a bit of angle with their handicap mark, or are you going with the rock solid form of maybe a Nina the Terrier or Martello Sky?
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was really hard. One thing I'd say about Theatre Glory, I was taken by her price. I know she fell over or unseated her rider in First Street's race at Newbury, but she was only a 4-1 shot. She was literally a point behind her stable mate in the market. I thought I wasn't expecting it to be that short. I really wasn't. She had a £7 claimer on. Just a little bit surprised. There's obviously some good vibes about her. She obviously looked very good when she won over course and distance. I think this is a lot easier race than the one she fell over in last time. I think she's going to be hard to beat. Of the other ones, Nina the Terrier, I think stepping back up in trip is definitely interesting. She was second in the Mares final, wasn't she, at Newbury, under a big weight, giving lots of weight to two. The first 3 were miles clear. And I thought she stayed on really well that day. She didn't run at all badly in the Great Wood, actually. She ran well for a long way, given the way the race was run. I thought she, of the more exposed ones, was definitely the one. I just slightly have it in my mind that Theatre Glory is going to be, a lot better than her handicap mark. And I think your person to your right there's probably spoiled the Nina the Terrier fun, and 4-1 is probably about her right price now. But I thought those were the two, basically, that stood out for me. I thought the others probably had a little bit to do. I don't really know where, really get Lady Adair. I think, I don't know. I just don't know. She's obviously won lots of races, but I thought Theatre Glory and Nina the Terrier were my two.
Okay, Theatre Glory 5-2, Nina the Terrier 4-1. I'll just see what the person to my right says about Nina the Terrier. I think they must have gone out, so I'll turn to my left, Kealy. Do you agree with my right honourable friend?
Yeah, I fear Theatre Glory. I think you have to. She was actually anti-post favourite for the Jerry Fielding until the jockey bookings came out and then things swapped round. Yeah, he talked her up really, in a fair way in the stable tour. She's obviously got to prove she's got over that. I think the race that she won here last year when she completed her hat trick was terrible by the standard of this race. So we'll have to wait and see. Lady Adair again, she beat a horse now rated 137 on her debut and absolutely slammed him, but then ran in a couple of two-bob races afterwards against absolute rubbish, and her jumping at times was absolutely awful. And you'd worry that in a really seriously competitive race, if she hasn't improved, she might have been intensively schooled for all we know. We haven't seen her for the best part of a year. But I couldn't back her without any evidence that she can jump in a race like this. And I got down, and I'm going down to Nina Terrier, who obviously fell 2 starts ago, so she's had her own jumping issues as well. But I thought she was making ground that day against Martello Sky and Molly Ollie's Wishes when she was a lot worse off than she would have been in a handicap, and she is £6 better off with Martello Sky for that. And I just thought she got outpaced at Cheltenham in the Greatwood. Come from the back and steady run race, got outpaced. She wants 2.5 mile. Trainer has said it. Her best form last year was 2.5 mile. She's back up to it against her own sex. I think, if there's a horse to beat Theatre Glory in there, it'll be her.
Okay. Nina Terrier's a 4-1 shot. I'm just going to put Martello Sky in all the each ways.
Oh, she's rock solid, isn't she? She's rock solid place, isn't she? As long as you get the full 8, but obviously bear in mind Indefatigable.
Yes.
Ran today.
Yeah, that is true.
I mind you, there's 10 runners, isn't there?
There is 10 runners, yeah. So, but given what's been going on,
yes, it's very true.
Won't completely put it off. But yeah, Martello Sky never ever runs a bad race. This is a better race than she won last year, but 2.5 miles around here is absolutely spot on, and you know she's going to run a big race for a yard whose horses are running into form. Simon, you made a noise of approval when I mentioned Martello Sky.
Yeah, that's exactly. If you hadn't mentioned her, I would have. I mean, she's so consistent. She was tried over 3 miles at Kempton last time. It didn't really work out, but this is her trip, isn't it? She's won twice at the track. Always turns up. As you say, sort of solid each way at 9-2. Lots of money for Lady Adair, which is interesting. It's very hard to really have a sort of firm view of how good she is. She's 11-4 from 7-2 in the last hour or so. So she's challenging now for favouritism with Theatre Glory. Nina the Terrier nicked into 4-1 from 9-2, 5-1 bigger. So yeah, Martello Sky for me. Tom Scudamore, who rides Branson, Missouri, gave her a little each way squeak. She bumped into a sort of a decent winner of Ben Pauling's at Lingfield on very different sort of conditions, sort of very sort of testing ground that day. But she is tough and off no weight. So, he thought she might run well at a big price. She's 22-1 for Scoo. But yeah, for me, Martello Sky, rock solid each way. Be no surprise to see her go very close again.
Okay, there we go. 3:35 at Cheltenham. We were going to look at Doncaster, but pretty much the same horses in that juvenile. So whatever we said for that opener, go back and replay it. So we'll bring the show to an end with the naps on the Saturday gone. And fingers crossed, we actually get some racing that goes ahead. And if it does go ahead at Cheltenham on Saturday, Paul Kealy, what is the best bet for you?
I'm going to go for the Cliff Horse hat trick and Gumball in the 150.
Gumball it is. Tom Segal?
Tricky one. I always go for the hardest race. They're the most fun ones. So Fantastic Lady, I think, will run really well in the handicap check.
Okay, Fantastic Lady it is. Simon?
I'm going to go for Tom Moore for Tom Scudamore.
Thomas Moore for Thomas Scudamore it is then. And I'll go for First Street to upset Epatante in the international hurdle. That brings the show to an end. Thank you, everyone at home, for watching. Thank you to Brian Galt as well, by the way. Good evening to you. Sent me some good stats. I just didn't get them in time, but I'll be diving into them, that's for sure. And everyone else who's been watching over the past hour or so. Fingers crossed that it warms up just enough to get some action at Cheltenham tomorrow and some racing at Doncaster as well. And if we do, we're in for a good day, and hopefully you are too. We'll be back just before Christmas, the 23rd of December, and hopefully we'll have all survived the cold snap until then. Have a good weekend. Good night. God bless. Have fun.